From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new day here of the program. Glad to have you on board as we launch into this important day. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, delivering America first every day with inside information and analysis. Three big things this hour. Number one, Democrats continue to dodge the funding of DHS, while Republicans don't seem to care enough to stay in Washington to force the issue and get it done. Both sides are failing you right now. Number two, I have to share more from the No Kings rallies as they are so telling. These people don't even know what they're protesting. They just want to protest something, mostly Donald Trump. And number three, the partial shutdown of DHS, now the longest in American history. While the radical left in Congress plays games with American lives and American security, Donald Trump has declared a national emergency to keep the TSA funded and our airports safe. That's right, emergency powers, because the Democrats have turned border security and homeland defense into a political hostage situation. You see, they'd rather see chaos at our borders and chaos in our skies than give a single dime to the men and women who actually enforce the laws they wrote. But this is the swamp fighting back. Trump isn't having it. He's putting America first, and the left is melting down. Let's start with the human side of this, because the mainstream media won't show you. All right? ICE agents, yeah, those same agents the Democrats love to demonize, are out there every day treating people with basic decency while they do the tough job of securing our homeland. I've seen the footage. ICE officers at the airport handing out lollipops to little kids coming through customs, trying to make a scary process a little less frightening for families who are here legally. That's not the jackbooted thugs the left paints them. That's public servants doing their duty with compassion. But according to the Democrats, those lollipops are somehow a threat to democracy. Give me a break. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal spent the weekend contradicting herself on funding ICE. She looks straight into the camera and says ICE doesn't need any more money. Oh no, they've got plenty. And then in the very next breath admits she's doing the right thing by withholding funding so they can't continue their operations. It's bizarre. Here it is.
Republicans already gave them $170 billion in the big bad betrayal bill that they passed unilaterally last year. And so ICE and CBP don't need our money, but also we can't give them more money to continue the lawlessness.
Wait, hold on. If they don't need the money, why are you bragging about starving them of money? Which is it, Congresswoman? Do they have enough cash, or are you deliberately sabotaging the rest of DHS's ability to do its job? This isn't policy, this is sabotage. She's not fooling anyone except the same activist crowd that shows up at these No Kings protests with spray paint in their backpacks. Speaking of those protests, let's talk about what real extremism looks like. At one of these No King rallies over the weekend, here's the message of activists there. I want you to hear this. And for those of you listening, a man with a can of spray paint says, "Kill your local ICE agent." He spray paints that on the side of an American monument. Not defund, not reform, kill. Straight up incitement. That's the atmosphere the Democrats have created in this country. They have radicalized their base to the point where law enforcement is public enemy number one. Then they have the audacity to act shocked when the president has to step in with emergency funding just to keep the TSA running. TSA agents are the last line of defense on our airports, folks, and Trump had to declare an emergency to pay them because Democrats won't pass a clean funding bill for DHS. Tom Homan spoke truth to power on CNN's Jake Tapper's show. Here it is.
President Trump wants the entire Department of Homeland Security funded. He wants the government open and funded. And look, I've been on Capitol Hill talking to both sides, and bottom lines, they want changes in ICE tactics. They want changes in policies. Look, the same laws that ICE follows today, The same laws about immigration enforcement have been in place during the Clinton, Obama, and now. The laws hasn't changed. And the things we're talking about, they want to prevent ICE from doing their job. They can say they don't want to abolish ICE. I'm in the room. They want to change operations so we arrest less people. And look, the conversation's gone good. We talk about body cameras. Well, pass the budget, and there's $120 million to buy body cameras. They're holding the department hostage because they don't like what ICE is doing. And ICE is enforcing the laws they enacted. If they don't like what ICE is doing, then change the law. That's your job. Well,
And that's the kicker. These are the same Democrats who voted for those laws years ago when it was politically convenient for them. Now that Trump is actually enforcing those laws, suddenly it's a humanitarian crisis? Holman nailed it. This isn't about compassion. It's about power and manipulation. They want open borders. They want catch and release. They want to flood the system until it collapses so they can remake the electorate in their image of socialism. And when ICE does its jobs, deporting criminals and securing the border, they cry hostage. This shutdown is so nonsensical that even ABC's Jonathan Karl is going to bat with Democrats over it. Here's his exchange with Senator Chris Holland. Again, the same guy that went to El Salvador to have margaritas with an illegal alien, criminal, gang member. Here it is.
I mean, I guess what's confusing here is you have fought and blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing. And you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been assured throughout all of this is that ICE already has the money. Because as you said, $75 billion passed in the budget bill last year. So you're holding up the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security because you object to ICE and you want changes to ICE. But through it all, ICE continues to have the money it needs.
John, we're not holding up all of the money for all the Department of Homeland Security. That's just a false statement. We have said repeatedly, repeatedly, we should fund TSA, we should fund FEMA, we should fund the Coast Guard. We are not prepared to give ICE another $10 billion on top of the monies they already have and are using in many of these lawless operations. We're not going to give them another $10 billion unless they make fundamental
reforms,
over that
$10 billion,
you're holding up everything else for the killing of American citizens.
And fighting over that additional $10 billion, you are holding up the rest of Department of Homeland Security.
We're not holding it up. I mean,
you're saying...
No, John, we're not holding it up. We have now voted 10 times...
Right, but you're holding up unless it doesn't include money for ICE. That's just a fact.
Facts are facts, and facts are stubborn, even to leftists like Jonathan Karl. House Republicans have sent over funding bills that would secure the border, pay our agents, and keep America safe. Democrats keep adding poison pills. Amnesty here, sanctuary city protections there, until the whole thing is untenable. Then they run to the cameras and say, see, Republicans won't compromise. It is gaslighting on an industrial scale. All right. Let's not forget what led to this situation in the first place. Senator Ron Johnson told the public about that this week, and we're going to get to that and the rest of the story as we continue. Glad to see you this morning. A lot to cover here. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Tuesday. All right, so what's really happening? Well, like I said, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin reminded us this week of exactly what's going on. Here he is.
Well, again, with that 60-vote threshold, Democrats, this is a hill they will die on, because any kind of election integrity really is existential to their game plan of turning America into a one-party nation. They flooded this country with millions of illegal immigrants, put them in sanctuary cities to plus up their numbers. But here's what they even more deviously. They trained activists to obstruct justice, encouraged them to put themselves in harm's way, knowing they could get harmed. They got 2 martyrs, and then they're using those martyrs as their excuse to try and defund law enforcement, to defund the very agencies that are designed to clean up the mess they created. That's what we're dealing with. That's who Democrats are.
And that's exactly what's happening. It is exactly who they are. They coach these radicals to swarm ICE facilities, block buses, scream in agents' faces, and then, when someone gets arrested for it, suddenly it's a human rights story. They need martyrs to fuel the outrage machine. It's not organic, it's orchestrated and paid for, just like we discussed yesterday. From the spray-painted death threats at the No Kings protest to the coordinated leaks and the endless lawfare, it's all part of the same playbook. Make enforcement impossible. Blame the enforcers. Keep the border as wide open as possible. And that's why Trump's emergency declaration is a good move. He's not waiting for the Democrats to grow a spine. He's using the tools he has to protect the American people right now. TSA agents get paid. Airports stay secure. And the message to the radical left is crystal clear. Your obstruction is going to end. It will, one way or the other. Look, I've been covering this fight for years, and the pattern never changes. Democrats talk tough on security when the polls are bad, then govern like open borders globalists the second they get power. They fund every pet project, Green New Deals, student loan bailouts, foreign aid to countries that hate us. But when it comes to ICE vans, detention beds, or border wall construction, suddenly the wallet slams shut and they scream bloody murder. The American people have already signaled that they're done with this nonsense. They voted for Trump in a landslide because they saw exactly what the Democrats were offering: chaos, crime, and open borders. They want law and order. They want secure airports, secure borders, and secure communities. And Trump is delivering, even if he has to go around the stonewalling in Congress to get it done. Every time a TSA agent shows up for work and gets a paycheck thanks to that emergency declaration, every time an ICE officer hands out a lollipop to a scared kid while still enforcing the law, it's a victory for common sense over the radical left. So, to the Democrats in Congress, to Jayapal and Van Hollen, and the rest of the obstructionist caucus, your games are over. The American people can see through the contradictions, the hostage-taking, the martyr theater. President Trump declared emergency because of you. You left him no choice. And if you keep pushing, he'll keep using every legal tool at his disposal to protect this nation. You see, that's what leaders do. That's what winners do. The fight isn't just about funding bills. It's about whether we're still a sovereign country with borders that mean something, or whether we've surrendered to the radical open borders agenda. Trump chose sovereignty. He chose the American worker, the American family, the American future. And history will record that when Democrats tried to hold DHS and ICE hostage, Donald Trump stepped in, declared the emergency, and kept the lights on. That's leadership. It is. That's America first, as it should be. So, one other thing from the airports in an update here that I got this morning. They're asking those in some places to show up at 90 minutes before your flight. They say that's the sweet spot. All right, interesting. Here's why. If you show up in a rush in the morning, right? If you show up in a rush in the morning, that jams the gates, the security lines, first thing in the morning. They call that the first surge, right? But if you show up 90 minutes before your flight, that's the time it takes to get through. About 45 minutes, they say, to get through security lines if they're long now. They're much improved, by the way, thanks to Donald Trump's decision to bring in ICE agents and help things move along. But the sweet spot is 90 minutes, and that's the latest. Showing up too early creates those first wave lines. The airport's also attached a graphic suggesting arrival times for flights starting at 5 p.m. through midnight, right? So this is working. Arriving 2.5 hours early for a domestic flight and 3 hours for international flights is still our recommendations at one airport. That's Hartsfield, Jackson, and Atlanta. So they're still trying to work these things out. About 40% of TSA workers, 40% in Atlanta. Here's your problem. When they're not getting paid, they don't show up. They go drive an Uber or do something different. So 40% have not shown up. Over 500 TSA agents have quit since this latest shutdown began, thanks to the Democrats. 500 said, we can't do this again. We're not going to sit here and do our jobs and not get paid and be treated like dirt. All right? And we get that. I do. You do. Look, it's time to hold the Republicans accountable, too. They've left for Easter break. Donald Trump ought to call a special session of Congress and say, you can come back, you can skip Easter, and you can get it done. Like I said earlier, both sides are failing you. Both sides. The Uniparty is failing you today. And that's the monologue for today. Everyone knows the next medical crisis is just around the corner, whether it comes in the form of a crippling winter storm or a pandemic or something much more mundane like a tick bite. You and your family need to be prepared. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You know the Wellness Company, they have great doctors, like my friend Dr. Peter McCullough. He's on here pretty often. The Wellness Company, its doctors are medical professionals you can trust. Their prescription line of medical kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. Whether it's the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, or the travel kit, these prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of these medications. Rest assured knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help keep you and your family safe. All you have to do is go to twc.health/Gruber today and order. twc.health/Gruber and use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save 10%. Here's what they look like. I've got these kits everywhere. And it's not just the medical emergency kit. It's the best first aid kit I've ever seen, which I've had to use a couple times. Gravity always wins. Look, that's just a fact, all right? Take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. You know, we've been talking about this Democrat member of Congress in Florida who apparently defrauded the government of $5 million, right? Democrats now calling for her to resign before she gets thrown out of Congress. Well, here's another one that you might have heard a little bit about, but it's interesting. $19,000 spent by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out of her campaign fund for some kind of therapy. It was paid to psychiatrist Dr. Brian Boyle, but it was written down as leadership training and consulting instead of personal psychiatric services. So this is a problem. So a complaint has been filed by the National Legal and Policy Center. Her campaign committee and treasurer should be investigated over three 2025 payments to Boyle, totaling $18,725. Now, none of us dispute she can use some psychiatric help. I get that, right? I get that. But it's not legal. So another investigation of another Democrat using campaign funds to enrich themselves or pay their bills, right? Most health problems don't start with what you're missing. They start with what you're not absorbing. And that's exactly what Enzorb from Victory Nutrition International is designed to address. Here's the reality. If your digestion isn't working properly, it doesn't matter how good your supplements look on the counter or the label. Your body can't use them if they don't get absorbed. Enzorb supports digestion, nutrient absorption, so the things you do take can actually do their job. No stimulants, no hype, just smart foundational support for gut function where energy, sleep, immunity, and metabolism all begin. I like this approach because it's logical. Fix the foundation first, then build from there. If you want to get more out of your nutrition and supplements, take a look at Enzorb from VNI. You can find it at vni.life/Gruber. That's Enzorb from VNI at vni.life/Gruber. They only have 6 products. This is the vitamin company that we use in this house. We did the research. Ivy did the research. This is the company we trust. Victory Nutrition International. Good people, 6 products. I think you'll like all of them. Go there and check it out. vni.life/Gruber, because what you absorb matters. Up after the break, we're going to get an update on what's happening in Iran from those watching from exile. All right? Right after this. All right, let's jump right back into it now. As I promised, we'd have an update from Iran, and Ali Safavi is a member of the Iranian parliament in exile, National Council of Resistance of Iran, and president of the Near East Policy Research. He joins me now. Ali, good to see you again this morning.
Good morning, Steve, and good to be with you.
Always good to be with you. All right, so give me an update on where you think we are. It's been a month now since the operations began between the United States and Israel, targeting, I think we've hit over 10,000 targets in Iran now, crippling the Air Force, the Navy, launch sites for missiles, and the list goes on. But there are still missiles left, and there's still a lot going on. What's your assessment as of today?
Well, there's no question that the regime is now the weakest it has ever been in the past 47 years. Nevertheless, it seems that now, fearing that its overthrow is coming, it has turned its eyes and attention toward the dissidents inside Iran, the main Iranian opposition, the Mujahideen Khalq. Just for you to know, I have some sad news today that this morning at dawn, two political prisoners, Puya Gobadi and Babak Alipur, one 34, the other 33, were executed in Iran for affiliation with the MEK. Yesterday, two more, one Akbar Danishvarkar and the other one Mohammad Taghavi, 60 and 59 years old, were also executed for their affiliation with the MEK. And we are extremely concerned about the fate of another 15 or 16 others who are on death row as we speak, and perhaps tomorrow or the next day, some more will be hanged. And this goes to show that the regime fears an uprising, and of course is terrified of the role that the MEK and its resistance units have played in fomenting these uprising and basically carrying the fight to the IRGC. So it makes it very clear that the regime considers the Iranian people and the organized opposition as its main enemy and as an existential threat. I think, quite frankly, it is time for the United States, the State Department, the White House, to come out and unequivocally condemn these executions and lend their political support to the democratic Iranian opposition as it strives to bring down this regime and end the mayhem and the chaos that we have seen in the region as a result of this regime's aggression and policies.
Now, overnight, just a few minutes ago on Truth Social, the president put out video of some major U.S. strikes overnight again, hitting big targets, big munitions dumps. But here's my question, Ali, and you would know this better than I would, clearly, but my understanding is the IRGC had about 600,000 soldiers across the country, spread out in 31 provinces. But where are those soldiers today? I mean, there's talk of the need to go in and secure the nuclear material, 400 kilograms, give or take. That would require some sort of troops on the ground in Iran, whether from the United States or anyone else for that matter. Not an easy operation. Where are those soldiers?
Well, of course, as to whether they're actually 600,000 or not, I'm not exactly sure what the figure is. But of course, you are very terrified. You may know that today, as we speak, the regime has brought out 12-year-olds, the children of the IRGC and other officials, and has given them Kalashnikovs to man the patrols and
12-year-olds.
Yes, 12-year-olds. Yes, and they brag about it. They have put it on Iranian TV. And what does a 12-year-old know? And they've given them, weapons that are larger than their bodies, and they're manning the patrols. It goes to show that many perhaps of the IRGC are fearing for their lives. But to be honest, and as we've said from the very, very beginning, that aerial war will not bring down this regime. You need a ground element. And that ground element is there on the ground in the form of the thousands of resistance units. Just for you to know, in the 3-week uprising in January, some 2,000 of them were either killed or disappeared, and we don't know about their whereabouts. So this is why we have called on the US, on Europe, to basically lend their political support to the Iranian freedom fighters inside Iran, because that is the element that will make the difference. Experience has shown that aerial war and even sending boots on the ground will not resolve the problem. Look at Iraq, look at Libya. Change must be indigenous, homegrown, bottom-up. That's something we're working day in and day out, and of course it has exacting a very, very high price. We have put out in place a provisional government, as was announced by the NCRI on February 28th. It's based on Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan, which calls for holding free and fair elections within 6 months of the regime's overthrow to elect a constituent assembly that will draft the constitution of the new republic. So all the elements are in place. We have the people who are willing to fight to gain their freedom. And of course, the political support by the administration is very, very critical. And as I said, a very, very clear and a strong condemnation of the executions that took place yesterday and today. I think silence is the worst thing that can happen when we see a regime which is hell-bent on eliminating its opposition.
And that's why you're here, to let people hear the truth about what's happening. Obviously, that 19-year-old wrestler, world champion, was also executed in Iran here just a few days ago. A disgusting move by the government there. What about the 15-point plan that's being discussed by the White House and being discussed with whom would be the question. It's not clear to me who's actually running Iran right now. Khamenei, the son of the former supreme leader, apparently issued a written statement, but I don't believe he's been seen in public. So we've got just a couple of minutes here, Ali. Who's running the place, and what about this 15-point plan?
Yes. Well, two things. First of all, we have said from the very beginning that we would very much welcome if the regime were to retreat and agree to the demands of the international community. And I think the 15 points that have been offered are very credible, very practical, and the mullahs should accept that. No need for nuclear weapons, no need for long-range ballistic missiles, no need for funding and training these terrorist proxies in the region that cause mayhem in not only the Middle East, but beyond. But it remains to be seen whether the mullahs will accept that, because for them, from day one, nuclear weapons, export of terrorism, and of course, suppression of its own citizens have been the lifeline, the pillars of the rule. And so it's doubtful that they will do that, especially now, as you said, it's not really clear who is in charge, but I guess it figures is the IRGC. And I'm very happy that you're showing the videos of the resistance fighters inside Iran, which is now morphing into a liberation army on the ground. This is no small task. It's very, very risky, and it takes a great deal of organization. And I think this is what, at the end of the day, the international community should look into, working with the organized opposition within Iran to topple this regime. And that, of course, would not require boots on the ground. It would not require American taxpayer money. It would ensure that
just
transition
the support
will be orderly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ali, really appreciate you being here. Obviously, we've got you guys on a regular basis to kind of get a feel for what's happening in there. Information is still scattered, but at least we're getting some. Ali, thank you for the update.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. There you have it from Iran. And from Iran to the oil prices up another $2 this morning to $104 a barrel. Is it legitimate or is it a money grab? I'll get Nick Hopwood to weigh in on what's happening in the markets and with your money after this. All right, no lazy money with my friend Nick Hopwood, president and founder of Peak Wealth Management. He oversees tens of millions of dollars in retirement and investment portfolios. He joins me now. Nick, nice to see you today.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I've got a lot of discussions in the chat rooms, on the streams and so forth, and a lot of discussion at kitchen tables around here. The price of gasoline, of course, impacting monthly budgets for the family. And I look at this. Oil's up to 104 this morning, and I'm like, I don't see how it continues to go up. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz has not changed appreciably, except some tankers have come through in the last few days, so that should ease the price. And yet, here we are, and you said Chevron went from what, 150 to 210 stock value in the last 60 or 90 days, whatever. I think the oil companies are cashing in at your expense and mine. Maybe I'm just a pessimist. Maybe I'm just jaded. But what are your thoughts?
Well, it is a good time to be an energy company, particularly an oil company. But they're dealing the hand that they were dealt, and it's not. Think about 2020 when the price of oil went negative. So it's not always sunshine and rainbows for the oil companies, but it is a good time to be an oil investor, like you said, with Chevron going from 150 to 210 in a short amount of time. But I'll also remind you that the price of oil, right, doesn't necessarily always follow the fundamentals that you'd expect. More oil coming online, like you're mentioning, doesn't always mean that the price is going to come down. Over time, it should, but day to day, we just don't know what's causing it.
All right, so let's take a broader look at the markets now, Nick. The Dow up about 50 points yesterday, but it's all the way down to 45,216, a long way from its 50,000 high a few weeks ago. Is it correction territory now? Where are we, and how much farther is it going to slide before things stabilize? Any idea?
Yeah, we're definitely in correction territory because both NASDAQ is down 10% from the high, and the Dow, like you mentioned, is 10% from the high. The S&P is 9.5% from the high, close enough. So, it's fair enough to call it a correction. And the chart that you're looking at on the screen here shows you the blue bars are the calendar year returns for the year, whereas the gold diamonds or the gold squares below show you the max drawdown. So like last year, if we look at 2025 all the way to the far right, we had a 20% drawdown, but we had a double-digit return to end the year. So this year right now, we're faced with a 10% drawdown. And what did I say on January 2nd, right on this show? What is your plan for the 2026 correction? It's here. So I hope you had a good plan.
Yeah, you did warn. I'll give you that. You were better than the groundhog. Your vision of the future was far superior, which I appreciate. Well, give me you've done this pretty well in the past. Years that you have corrections or you have down years, what happens the following year? You're always very good at this. So what do you see going forward? Is it going to come down farther? And once it does, what happens next, historically speaking?
Yeah, so it certainly could come down farther. The average of all of those corrections that we were looking at on that chart was minus 14%. Okay. So we'd still have another 4% go just to be average. But also remember that all of those averages include recessions and bear markets. And our base case is that this will not be a recession. It will not be a bear market, more like an ordinary correction. I suspect when the U.S. involvement in Iraq dies down, the market will focus on traditional fundamentals with earnings and PE ratios and so on. And so that's what we're looking forward to. But Steve, what happens next? If you are a buyer when the market is down double digits like this, you're almost always rewarded with a double-digit return 12 months out.
Yeah. So let me see. Well, the last thing, I want one more thing. Stability in the people I ask my questions to, like you. You've been on here for years now. Stability with your advisor. Some of these big companies, you walk in, here's Jim, here's Bob, here's Tom. It's somebody different every time because they got big companies. Not the same with you. Yours is personal service, which I appreciate. And so no matter where people are listening, make sure you have somebody you can trust. That's all I'm saying. Make sense?
Yeah, and I've got a story to tell you here. One of our newest clients, Steve, came from one of the large firms that everyone's heard of. And I looked at the results. The results were good. It wasn't an issue with performance. It was an issue with the relationship. As you're mentioning, if there's a revolving door when it comes to who your advisor is, this gentleman had 6 advisors in 7 years in the same company. It's just unheard of. So you're unable to build a relationship. You're unable to develop that bond that we like to think that we have with our clients. And so you have myself, Jim, and Preston. That's our team, and we work as a team. And so you never get this revolving door type setup with the relationship.
Well, there you go. Yeah, 6 people in 7 years from one of the big companies. The returns were fine. Look, I want to be able to talk to the person I'm investing with, whether it's you or somebody else. I want to be able to talk to them and make sure I've got a comfort level. Because I want to call up when the markets are bad and say, why are you losing my money today? And when markets are good, I want to call up and say, wasn't I brilliant? I mean, that's what clients do, right?
Interestingly, we have not had a lot of calls so far with this particular correction.
No, because people know where most people think it's temporary. I think it's temporary. One last thing. Nick Hopwood, where did you go to college?
Michigan Econ.
Excuse me?
Michigan Econ, economics, Steve.
Yeah, University of Michigan graduate. So you've been watching some basketball, have you? I mean, let's just have a little fun, Nick. You're watching it, you're loving it, right?
Let's face it, Michigan is picked to beat Arizona. It's going to be a great game on Saturday night. It's the late game. So, Steve, you and I are going to have to stay up late on Saturday night.
True.
But let's talk about the Big Ten for a minute. 2 teams in, Michigan and Illinois. And the last time Michigan and Illinois were the 2 teams in the Final Four, 1989.
Yeah.
Michigan goes on to win the national championship. But also, interestingly for the Big Ten, since 2000, when Michigan State won, no national titles.
Nobody. Well, Nick, I'll be up late. You're right on Saturday. You'll be decked out. He's a true blue Michigan fan. Anyhow, a little bit of fun there. Nick, always appreciate seeing you. You can find out more at peakwm.com. The QR code there if you like Nick and like to ask him. He can look at your Social Security, do a review for free, right? Because you're a viewer of this program. Good stuff. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Steve. Go
there
blue.
You have it. QR code. Go blue. QR code right there on your screen for Nick. And you can have an advisor you trust. I'll be right back. So I saw this story yesterday, and I wanted to talk about it just for a little bit because it's just more evidence that Western nations have lost their way. They've lost the script. And this story comes to me from Spain, okay? A father fighting to keep his daughter alive. She's 25 years old. He's doing everything he can. He's talking to doctors. He's talking to medical staff. He has to go into courtrooms and beg for her to live. And he lost. She wasn't sick. She had been sexually assaulted. She was grieving over the sexual assault. And in Spain, like too many other countries now, they have assisted suicide. She chose to be put to death by the state, by the government of Spain. And the government of Spain said, yes, we'll put her to death over the objections of her father. She was from Barcelona. Noela Castillo Ramos. The father argued that his daughter wasn't psychologically able to make the decision regarding euthanasia, regarding taking her life. She needed better medical and psychiatric care. The state said no, too bad. And I bring that to your attention because up in Canada, the MAID laws, medical assistance in dying, the MAID laws, over 100,000 people in Canada now have been put to death at the blessing of the government. This is a problem. The devaluing of life, whether it's an abortion or euthanasia, the devaluation of life in Western nations is alarming, to say the least. And to allow a 25-year-old woman to be put to death because she was depressed is appalling to me. I want you to think about that for a moment. We've got another big hour ahead, so don't go anywhere. It's the Steve Gruber Show. You can always email me. What are your thoughts? SteveGruber.com. Make sure you follow us on all those social media platforms. Make sure you catch the brand new podcast of Forgotten America with Susan Kokinda, right? It's on YouTube. Become a subscriber. It's free. And then follow us on social media. YouTube, X, Facebook, Getter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever your pleasure. I'll be back in a moment.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Welcome back to it as we kick off another big hour here of the program. Glad to have you on board. A busy Tuesday, to say the least. Here are three big things this hour. Number one, another day and another Chicago teenager brutally gunned down, this time in an upscale neighborhood where those things are not supposed to happen. And right now, they're still looking for a suspect. Number two, some school districts in America, not surprisingly, trying to skirt the Supreme Court ruling that parents must be informed if their kids are transitioning at school, and if they don't follow the rules, they will pay the price. And number three, it's going to be a mixed bag this hour. So much to cover, so much going on. I want to make sure you have as much information as possible. I want you to have a handle on everything. That way you can keep your head on straight as to have the facts. So let's start with the ongoing war. The president considering hitting power plants and water supplies. Democrats saying that you cannot do that because it might be a war crime. Sound familiar? It's always throwing out the suggestion without ever backing it up. Like suggesting the military should not follow illegal orders, but never provide any examples. You know, you shouldn't follow illegal orders. Like what? Well, you just shouldn't follow any. It might be a war crime. It might be. Might not be. Anyway, I digress. Marco Rubio tired of answering the same questions about the objectives of hitting Iran. So he sets the record straight again. He says, write it down. Listen.
This operation, okay, and that's what this is, it's about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number one, the destruction of their Air Force. Number two, the destruction of their Navy. Number three, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number four, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule on some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
I'll be completely honest. Marco Rubio's stock continues to rise with me. I think he's doing great. Joining me now is Ivy. She's in the room. Good morning, Ivy.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. Marco Rubio, man, he has been, I think, just terrific since before the war. Whether it was Venezuela or other things we're doing, you know, and there's a lot going on that people don't even realize. This whole thing in Ecuador, people don't realize because you got the war in Iran getting all the attention. But in Ecuador right now, the United States military is working hand in hand at the request of the Ecuadorian government to eradicate the cartels.
Wow, I was not aware of that.
See, this is important. To eradicate the drug cartels in Ecuador. One country after another, Honduras, Costa Rica, Argentina. El Salvador, of course, all moving to the right, cleaning up crime. And, you know, it's really following the example, the lead of President Trump.
Absolutely. Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, man, he is just steadfast and ironclad and so supportive of our president. I just love hearing him speak. He's so eloquent.
No apologies from him.
No apologies. Yeah. And, hey, are people realizing, Venezuela, 30 years ago, how wealthy that country was.
Before it was destroyed by socialist nightmares,
but maybe we can have the wealth of countries like the United States if we clean up, the crime and the cartel influence. You can have a pretty wealthy country.
Right, which is what Ecuador is doing right now.
Yeah.
I just saw this remarkable, I got to get this for the folks to see tomorrow. It is El Salvador from like 5 years ago, the capital city, and aerial shots, and what it looks like today, different place. I mean, there's garbage and homeless and crime and gang members all over the streets and like these tarps and so forth, and here's the capital now. It looks like a capital city. It's been cleaned up. All the riffraff is gone. All the criminals have been taken out. I was talking to a guy last night from Mexico, and he said, we want We want for Mexico what they've done in El Salvador. That's what he stood in my yard and told me last night. Interesting guy.
And that's not the first time we've heard that, is it?
No.
There's a few people that are from Mexico
that we know
that are saying we want President Trump to come in and do that in Mexico.
Yeah. Problem is Mexico's too big.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, Mexico's too
big for what?
Too big for Trump to intervene. I mean, you got 110 million people or whatever it is in Mexico, right? So easier to go in and help out smaller countries. But I agree with that. And the people we talk to.
Well, if there's a collaborative effort between the Mexican government and ours.
Yeah, here's the problem. Cartels paying off everybody in Mexico. Everybody's on the take.
Right.
Actually,
we had some friends just go down and vacation in Mexico, and we're like, why?
Why would you do that?
I'm going to pray for you while you're there. My goodness, we'll pray for you anyways.
Well, the woman we talked to is from near Mazatlan. She won't go back. Mazatlan's on the Pacific side. Too dangerous. The cartels demand payment every time you're there. The guy I was on to last night, he's all the way down near Guatemala, southern Mexico. He says, I don't go back. It's getting worse every day. Inside Mexico. Now, Guatemala's getting better. El Salvador's getting better.
Well, I wonder if all those, cartels are like fleeing into more of the Mexican territory.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have as much, scrutiny or trying to be defeated there.
Yeah.
But, I was on your big three there. Something that came to mind and something I wanted to bring to people's attention is the children and teens shot in Chicago.
Oh, my Lord.
The numbers are staggering. Roughly 250 to 300 children, 16 and under, are shot per year.
In Chicago.
30 to 50 are killed annually. And this equates to about 20 to 25 children shot per month, 2 to 4 children killed per month just by...
That's just terrible. Okay, so here's...
gunfire.
Sheridan Gorman is a woman that's been in the headlines a little bit lately because she was murdered by an illegal alien, and the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, says, well, it's the gun's fault. No, it's you with a sanctuary city. It's your fault.
The gun does not fire by itself, people.
Yeah. And then there was another one killed on Saturday. Her name's Lily Bova. Lily Bova was killed in Glenview. It's an unincorporated part of Chicago, greater Chicagoland, if you will.
Right.
One of those upscale communities where this is not supposed to happen. They don't have a suspect yet. I mean, this is a 16-year-old honors student.
Well, I think you and I we've taken a few trips to Chicago many, many years ago, but we're in this, almost similarly to Mexico. We won't go to Chicago.
I have no interest. Yeah, why would I go to Chicago? I'll go to Detroit. You know why? Because that city seems pretty safe, certainly compared to Chicago. Detroit gets a bad rap, but I'll tell you something. We'll go downtown to Detroit. We'll go to an event or a restaurant in Detroit 100 times over Chicago. I won't go there.
Well, we were there for the DNC, and
in Chicago,
where our Airbnb was.
Sketchy.
We parked in this parking garage, and then as we're taking our things into the Airbnb, we're seeing a drug deal go down on the corner.
Right there. It's
you and I had a little discussion. We're like, we need to move the car because we don't feel safe even going to the car.
Yeah, we didn't walk around in the dark.
And this is right downtown Chicago.
In what's supposed to be a nice area. Yeah.
And as it got closer to time of the DNC, the military actually moved in, and those people disappeared. They moved on, but
not when we first arrived. Hold that thought.
All right.
Hold that thought. Yeah, Chicago, pass. They need the National Guard like they have in New Orleans, Memphis, D.C. All they have to do is ask, do they want to live in squalor and crime? Stop it. We'll be right back. All right, jumping right back into it. Ivy's still here with me this morning. Ivy, I want to share something with you that I saw yesterday from a woman at Atlanta's Hartsfield International Airport. Mm-hmm. You know, because to hear the Democrats tell it, the ICE agents coming in, they were going to be vile and it's going to be fearful and it's going to be awful, right? So let's go to the tape, shall we? Let's find out what's really happening. Here it is.
What's up, everybody? This is Angela Stanton King, and I'm reporting live from Hartsfield Airport. And apparently, Trump sending ICE to the airport was a great thing, because guess what? I just walked straight through. And if you look over there in the corner, news reporters with nothing to report because there's some haters. So shout out to ICE. This is your favorite Angela Stanton King reporting live from Hartsfield Airport. I walked straight through. No lines. Shout out to this awesome officer. Shout out to Trump. Shout out to ICE.
He's having some fun there.
I love that. Well, what were we talking just a couple days ago that I don't think that this is a winning argument for the Democrats because people are actually having real world experiences. What was a couple weeks ago, lines in Atlanta were 3 hours, 4 hours long. Yeah. You know, lines out the door, people just breaking down crying because they're not going to make their flight because there aren't any TSA officers available because they're not being paid to show up for work. Right. So, you know, you bring in ICE and then everyone has a great experience with ICE, and they're going, wait a minute.
I was showing earlier ICE officers handing out lollipops to children.
And water.
And saved the life of that one child who was choking and unresponsive. The ICE officer races over.
Yeah, performs the Heimlich.
Yeah, and there it is.
Frees the airway. And
you make a great point.
Child.
Personal experience with ICE officers, and people are going, oh.
Yeah, wait a minute. This is not what I've been told
by
mainstream media and, you know, the social media channels that are claiming that these are horrible people.
Right. These aren't horrible people. They're just people helping out.
They're just doing their job.
Right.
Whatever they're told to do, they go and do it.
Absolutely true.
And yes, they need to be harsh on criminals.
Let me stay with this for a second. Okay. On CNN, they were caught off guard. Here's a TSA union rep, right? Mm-hmm. And they want to know about the message the TSA wants to send to those in Washington. I don't think CNN was ready for the answer. Here it is.
What is your message and the message of those that you represent to Congress, to perhaps the president as well, about having to continually go through this every time Congress is supposed to be passing bills that pay the bills?
Well, I have to say thanks to the president for signing the executive order to pay us. But I also have to say that there's other parts of the Department of Homeland Security that aren't being paid, right?
So thank you, President Trump is the message. I don't think the folks from CNN were ready for that, Ivy.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. But it's not the president or the Republicans that are blocking the pay.
That's correct.
It's Chuck Schumer, and I think there was only one person that voted for them to be paid.
John Fetterman.
The Democratic side. Yeah,
John Fetterman. So, okay, let's stay with this theme for a second.
Okay.
The Democrats don't want to pay for ICE. Well, they already paid for that in the big, beautiful bill. Doesn't matter. They're paid through 2029 at least. Mm-hmm. So blocking the TSA payments and DHS and Coast Guard, completely worthless. Means nothing.
Right. It's just showboating for their party.
But this is how angry Democrats are. I want you to listen to this because they're even calling getting TSA paid illegal. Here it is.
What did Democrats get out of this standoff?
Yeah, well, Margaret, the standoff is not done yet, right? The president is illegally paying, apparently, TSA agents. You had the Senate, as you pointed out with Mr. Homan, pass a bipartisan bill unanimously in the United States Senate to say, look, let's fund everybody else and let's deal with this thorny issue about ICE. And then you had the Republican House say, hell no, we're not doing that.
Okay, what's a thorny issue here? The fact that criminals have killed people or raped children. I mean, I'll keep telling the truth here.
Yeah.
This is what happens, and they have to go get these really, really evil, bad people off the streets.
Yeah. Let me make a prediction for you based on what he just said there. That's Jim Himes. He's a member of Congress, Democrat from Connecticut. Let me make a prediction. They are going to sue President Trump and the administration for paying the TSA agents. There are going to be lawsuits to prevent them from being paid.
Listen, I've been reading C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity.
Yep.
And there was a section there that said, you know, if you're talking about the people who are claiming, well, we need to keep illegal immigrants here for the sake of humanity. Okay, but the reality is that they broke laws. Okay. And if you do not hold people in this country accountable to the law of the land, then is there any law at all that is valid? You can't give one section of people a free, you know, well, but they broke the law, but it's okay. And then on the other side say, well, we need to uphold the law. It's either we have laws or we don't. It's very simple.
It really is.
And so if we talk about humanity, well, what about the rest of humanity in the United States of America? What about the people that have been killed or, you know, are paralyzed because they've been hit by a drunk driver that happened to be an illegal immigrant? How about all of those people? You know, why is their lives not worth as much as the lives of the illegal immigrants that are criminals? Now, if you have been here for many, many, many years and you're giving back to, you know, your communities, you might be able to go through the process of becoming a U.S. citizen, but it doesn't mean that you didn't break the law. And
you don't get a free pass.
You don't get a free pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what, you know, DHS have been trying to do is say, hey, you can self-deport, and then if you do that, you can come back the right way. And so I think, you know, if that's what the law says, that's what should be done.
You can't follow one law and not the other. You don't get it.
Exactly.
You know, we like this one, we don't like that one. Jim Himes, I'm telling you, the Democrats are going to sue to keep the TSA agents from being paid.
Right.
That will show their true colors. Ivy, love you.
Love you.
All right. Greatly appreciated. Send us an email, stevegruber.com. stevegruber.com. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Never miss a day here of the program because you miss a lot. I'll be right back. All right, so I just keep seeing these videos pop up on social media. As I sit here prepping this show every day, these videos keep popping up. And to me, they're just mind-blowing, right? They really are, of these No Kings protests. And they keep popping up, and one is just dumber than the next. But in order to really appreciate what you're up against, you have to hear these people speak. Let me give you an example.
Number one issue that you guys are upset about?
The bigot in the chair.
What's the worst thing Trump's done so far?
Let's see, where do I start? I think, obviously, I feel like the top thing... Oh my god, wait. The whole thing with, like, immigration, I think, is probably, like, my biggest, like, ick, I guess, if you want to call it. I don't really know what to say. You know, everything that he's doing, like, financially with, like, the government funds, military funds, everyone... sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm in latex right now.
Yeah, I get it. I'm in long sleeves, so it's pretty hot out here today.
Sorry, I'm... Venus.
Uh-huh. All right. Yeah, she's got nothing. It's the point.
She started having a panic attack, I think.
She did. She's wearing latex, Anthony. Right. She's wearing latex, so she's panicked. There's your No Kings protest example for today. I had a great night of sleep last night. I did. I wear this Oura ring because Ivy says I have to. And I have to take my vitamins and sit up straight and finish my milk. I used to think a mattress was just furniture until I got my ghost bed. Boy, is it great. Honestly, the first night I slept on it, I woke up thinking, wow, this is great. Because Ghost Bed doesn't build mattresses like furniture. They build engineered sleep systems. And look, nothing more important. Their beds are serious health equipment. Beds designed for relief and recovery, not looks, not fluff. They are American made. And I like that too. Your body should heal while you sleep, not fighting for comfort. If you're waking up stiff, tossing and turning, sleeping hot, or taking pain meds before you go to bed so you can sleep better, don't do that. That's not aging. That could be your mattress. And you get 101 nights to check it out. 101 nights. If you don't feel the difference, you can send it back risk-free. GhostBed offering my audience 10% off. Go to ghostbed.com/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. That's ghostbed.com. Promo code is Gruber. You'll save 10%. Trust me. This is an American-made gem. Ghostbed.com. I'll be right back. All right, jumping back into it now. We were just talking about this in the break. Mike Rowe has been the point man on this conversation for a long time, and that is the trades. Carpenters, electricians, HVAC, welders. If you work with your hands and do things that AI cannot, you are going to set yourself up for success. You can even shift careers You know, if you're in your 40s or 50s, it doesn't matter. You can shift forward. Tom Martin is the past president of the Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning Contractors National Association. He joins me now. Tom, good morning.
Steve, how are you?
I'm doing well. You guys are discussing trade job opportunities. You can do that April 6 to 10, designed to raise awareness for the abundance and evolution of well-paid essential trade careers, skilled trade associations, and building up the opportunities for young people in America. You don't leave college with $100,000 in debt and a degree you couldn't sell to anyone. You leave with a skill that are paying remarkably well. I mean, to build submarines in America, you need welders and electricians. These data centers, I mean, they're poaching all sorts of people from one company to the next and paying them more every step of the way. There is money out there, isn't there?
Day one, these apprentices are getting over 22, 25 bucks an hour with great benefits, Steve. It's amazing. And the opportunities are endless for HVAC, welders, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. There are supply and demand for all the building trades and skilled trades in the country.
Basically, and I go back to this AI thing, because for years, send every kid to college, teach them to code. What are those coders doing now? Sitting home or doing something completely different. But it doesn't matter. If you're a roofer, you got a job. If you're a plumber, you've got... Look, these people are making more than attorneys. And honestly, with AI, who's going to need an attorney going forward? You just plug it into one of your preferred programs and you got your legal advice. Who needs an accountant? You plug the numbers in, you've got your numbers answered for you, probably with better deductions than if a person's looking at it. Anything you do with your hands that AI cannot do, that's the future, isn't it?
It is, and that skill set travels. So if you want to relocate, you can. The opportunities are endless, Steve. We are looking for field leaders, superintendents, project managers, CAD and BIM operators. So, you know, there's great opportunities for young men and women to get in the skilled trades, and it's trendy now. I mean, people are hearing about it. Parents are understanding it. Guidance counselors. So finally, we have some traction within the skilled building trades.
It is the National Careers and Trades Week, NCIT. It takes place April 6th through the 10th. Where is this being held, and how do people connect with it?
The website is nationalcareersandtradesweek.com, and there's multiple locations across the country, Steve. It's a lot of JTCs and apprenticeship halls and union halls around the country are engaging.
Yeah, and I'm not wrong when I say, look, if you're sitting in a cubicle somewhere today, and you're like, man, I don't see this as going anywhere, right? Or I could be replaced by AI in a month or two. It's not too late to shift gears and do something new and exciting, is it?
We have 40-year-old, 45-year-old men and women that have become apprentices for us, or have a skill set in our welder. We could bring them in direct entry and bring them in as a journey person. So whatever age you are, we are willing to accept and bring you in the trade.
You know, I saw, and again, Mike Rowe, like I said, he's been the tip of the spear on this. Right. I heard him say, and maybe you've got some numbers for me too. I heard him say, for example, we are 300,000 electricians short in this country. And because the administration is bringing manufacturing back to America, and we're building data centers, and we're building all sorts of new things. You know, Ford's building a new plant, I believe, in Tennessee, and John Deere's building a new plant in North Carolina. And all of these things are happening because of onshoring of manufacturing, because of the drive of this administration to make it in America again. And he said, I don't care about making T-shirts. Donald Trump said, I want to build things. So if you still buy your T-shirt from China, who cares? As long as we're building real things in America, right?
Absolutely. And we see it with equipment manufacturing in general, that there's a lot of factories that are expanding their facilities. We see a lot of jails, airport renovations, arenas and stadiums, data rooms, cell plants. I mean, there's a lot of projects out there. And we see overall, Steve, hours are up, especially in the MEP trades, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Hours are continuously up, and a lot of our contractors are extremely busy, which is a good thing.
MEP, and you mentioned a lot of things, hospitals too. Big construction projects happening in this country, especially in the states where the policies are good. Tennessee, Florida, Texas, South Dakota, where the policies are good, they're booming even more, aren't they?
They are, and especially in that Sun Belt, a ton of healthcare with central utility plants. A lot of labs. Pharmaceutical is still up. So there's a ton of opportunities, not only around the whole country, but as I mentioned, all the hours are up. A lot of contractors are extremely busy. We're looking to onboard men and women, not only as apprentices, but journey people. If you want to work, you want to learn a skilled trade, we have the resources to train these individuals and onboard them quickly and get them in the right position and with the right company.
Yeah, and here's another indication of the shift that is happening, a monumental, massive shift. I read here recently that in the next 5 to 10 years, possibly hundreds of colleges and universities in this country will close their doors because enrollment is down. The cost of an education exploded when Barack Obama tied all the loans to the government. Go figure. The government's giving money from one government entity to another. The middleman is the student who gets stuck with the bill. But colleges and universities are going to close because people finally figured out, as my friend Charlie Kirk used to say, college is a scam. But getting a skilled trade, something you have for life. If you're a plumber, you're a plumber for life. If you're a welder, you can do that for the rest of your life. If you're an electrician, same thing. Right. And you can build and support a family, buy a home, live the American dream, right?
Middle class living, great wages and great benefits, health and welfare, annuity, a pension, great benefits with the skilled trades. And most big cities, Steve, are over $50 an hour take home. Plus, if you're a foreman, if you're a leader, you get more money and more benefits. There's opportunities are endless. The disciplines are endless with regards to welding, HVAC service, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. And your future opportunities for some of these men and women as they go through the trade, opportunities to maybe own a business, run a business, start a business. And there's mentorships with our contractors associations that can assist them as well.
All right. One more time, Tom, give them the website where they can learn more for themselves, for their kids, for their grandkids, real quick.
NationalCareersandTradesWeek.com. Tom,
really, I like it. It's optimistic. It's a new day. You just have to go where the opportunity is. You can't necessarily do what you love because that's kind of a myth, but you go where the opportunity is and you will love the results. Tom, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Really appreciate it. And there it is. Lots of opportunities, big demand for a lot of these jobs, all of them, in fact. The American dream is alive and well. You just have to know where to go find it. We're going to go live to the Pentagon with Real America's Voice, David Zier, in just a moment. All right, coming up in just over an hour, Pete Hegseth and others will be holding a briefing at the Pentagon for an update on what's happening in Iran. David Zier from Real America's Voice, TV and radio political commentator, and he's also the host of Breaking Point on Real America's Voice. He's at the Pentagon. He's the Pentagon correspondent for RAV. He joins me now. David, good morning.
For the 8 a.m. press briefing to start here, had full capacity this morning, and huge explosions overnight with 2,000-pound bombs tearing through ammunition depots in Isfahan, where 60% of Iran's uranium is stored. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu saying we're beyond the halfway point as far as missions go. And the CENTCOM commander, Admiral Bradley Cooper, met with the Israeli leadership and the defense forces and reaffirmed the strength of their partnership. And this comes on the heels of this incredible attack on Prince Sultan Air Base on our E-3 Sentry AWACS, a big loss. It's many hundreds of millions of dollars to replace this platform, key for airborne surveillance and managing incoming threats here. Iran is implementing somewhat of a toll booth in the Strait of Hormuz, charging fees for and having them enter into Iranian waters in order to pass through the strait. Kuwaiti oil tanker was hit overnight, but the damage has been contained. No oil was lost here. And the UAE says it's willing to join the fight to reopen the straits, which is very interesting here. At capacity, 20 million barrels a day pass through the straits, and they've only been able to make up about 5 to 9 million barrels per day through alternate routes in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Also, it leaves an 11 million barrel deficit of oil supply to the world's needs. So a lot going on. We expect a full briefing here in just a few moments.
An 11 million barrel deficit, but that's cut the deficit in about half, and yet oil's up $2 again today, David, to 104 when I looked here just a moment ago, which obviously impacts America's economy some, but it impacts China and others more. It impacts Europe far more. And yet they've been reluctant to join us, which is embarrassing for them, not for us. So there's been a lot of discussion, David, and I think this is going to come up today. 10,000 troops have been moved into the area, including Marine Expeditionary Forces. Not sure what that means yet, but the question is, what's it going to take to secure that 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, give or take? Is it going to require some sort of intervention on the ground? And I'm not talking about an invasion, but I'm talking about an incursion to secure those supplies. That's something that people are asking and want to know. What do you think?
I think it's being used as a wedge negotiation tactic as well. But yes, a lot of our troops are trained in this type of thing. They've been training to hit some of these targets on the ground for many years. What this is going to look like is still yet to be unveiled. And as Hegseth says at the briefings here, often he's not going to give away our tactics. And it's going to be interesting how this unfolds here in 4,400 Marines and those two MEU units, the 11th and 31st MEUs, arriving in theater along with a whole slew of V-22 Ospreys and F-35 fighters. A lot of troops descending on the region.
Yeah, we also know that, look, the Air Force for Iran has been devastated. The Navy has been devastated. Yet yesterday, Iran, they do this. They lobbed a missile at Turkey yesterday. It was intercepted by, defensive missiles and so forth. But why would you launch a missile at Turkey if you're Iran? That makes no sense to me. Am I crazy?
Well, also inciting the fury of the Gulf states, a Shia nation attacking Sunni nations. You would think it would have maybe unified them a little earlier, but now UAE saying they're going to jump in the fight to lead the escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. This is impacting them in their wallets, and that Qatar LNG field was the crown jewel of Shell Corporation, and it's going to take years to repair it. They can't risk having more of these targets hit, and now with additional threats from into the Red Sea area and the other side of Saudi Arabia from Houthi proxies and other I think that Saudi's probably going to jump in as well, and we'll see what other nations do. But probably a very foolish move by Iran.
Yeah, the three H's, the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, obviously the three. But here's another little interesting thing that most people missed yesterday. Uganda, a Christian nation in Africa who's been fighting al-Shabaab terrorists for years, funded by Iran, said, listen, you just say the word, we've got 80,000 soldiers we'll send to fight the Iranian regime. Interesting. I don't think anybody's going to take them up on it. But it's interesting that other nations that have been terrorized by Iranian groups, they've said, we've had enough. We'll join you. We'll fight back. Last word to you, David.
It's a pretty bizarre world when they're volunteering and France and Spain are sitting on the sidelines. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. All right, David Zier, greatly appreciate you. The briefing is coming up at the top of the hour. So, David, thank you from the Pentagon.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Really appreciate it. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Yes, sir.
As Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, probably with Raising Cane, will be out there this morning, maybe others. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's important. The Iranian regime, do you take Karg Island? Do you send in Marines or someone else to secure the materials, the enriched uranium, that could create a nuclear weapon? Do you go in and secure those? Because how else do you get it? You don't get it by bombing from the air. So a lot of questions today. We're just over a month into this conflict in Iran. We've had, I think, 13 casualties on the American side, half of which came when a KC-135 refueling plane came down in a mistake, in an error there in theater. So we'll keep an eye on it. David Zier, we always appreciate him. Real America's Voice, Pentagon correspondent, live from the Pentagon today. That briefing starts in just a moment. We'll take a break and be right back on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush. Here he is.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. We're now down to the Final Four in the NCAA women's basketball tournament as the last two regional finals were played last night. In the Fort Worth Regional, Texas thrashed Michigan 77-41. Madison Booker had 19 points to lead the Lady Longhorns, and South Carolina made it to their sixth straight Final Four with a 78-52 beatdown of TCU in the Sacramento Regional. Joyce Edwards had 24 points, 12 rebounds for the Lady Gamecocks. A full schedule of games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Cleveland, and Houston. National League winners included Atlanta, the Chicago Cubs, and Arizona. In the NBA last night, there were 8 games played. Winners included Miami, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City. And in the NHL, there were 5 games played. Winners were Pittsburgh, Toronto, Colorado, Vegas, and San Jose. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Brock. I just want to ask you about something real quick here. Because I don't think we've discussed it. The IOC saying that you must be male or female to participate in male or female sports in the Olympics coming up in 2028. Some people applauding it, but others not impressed with that. But it's the way it should be, isn't it?
I think so. If the IOC wants to create a transgender division, by all means do it. But there's limits somewhere. And if you're biological male and transition to a female, in my opinion, you shouldn't be participating in female sports.
Agreed.
I just don't.
Yeah.
You can talk about discrimination or whatever. Like I said, if you want to create a transgender division, knock yourself out. But
other than that,
yeah. I don't. There's a limit somewhere.
Well, here's the thing: nobody wants to see a boxing match where some woman gets almost killed because the person she's fighting is male. All right, nobody wants to see that.
Man.
Exactly.
Oh, that happened in the last Olympics, yeah.
It did, yeah. All right, Brock, thank you for that. Greatly appreciate it. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Don't forget to go check out the Forgotten America podcast. You can find that at YouTube. Become a subscriber. It's free. All right? This week, Susan Kokinda, a double shot. We've got 2 hours with Susan Kokinda talking about the globalists and everything that they've done to create instability in places like the Middle East. It's great fun. Forgotten America, me and Ivy, right there. Become a subscriber for free on YouTube. You're going to love these podcasts, I promise you. This is The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, and welcome to it as we kick off another big hour here of the program. Glad to have you on board as we keep telling you everything we can to make you the most informed viewer and listener today in America. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, the synagogue attack in West Bloomfield ruled as an act of terrorism. I told you that 10 minutes after it happened. Of course it was terrorism. What else would it be? Number two, the Pentagon holding a briefing this morning about the state of the war in Iran. We made big attacks overnight. We'll tell you about that. And number three, the price of everything continues to skyrocket, at least energy does. Oil is up to $104, almost $105 a barrel right now, even though, as we learned from David Zier last hour from the Pentagon, about half the oil is now flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. About 11 million barrels went through. It should normally be about 20 million barrels. So it's been cut in half, the deficit, if you will. And yet oil continues to go up. And Donald Trump just said it's time for countries that are being impacted by this to fight for themselves, to get in there to help out and keep the Strait of Hormuz open. President Trump calling on nations feeling the strain from the closure to fight and fix the situation themselves. Trump made the statement on Truth Social Post earlier today. Here's what was written and posted by the president. All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it, Trump wrote. You'll have to start learning to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. You know, and I look at that and people are going to be, oh my gosh, the president's destroying these alliances. What alliance? When the war started in Ukraine, Europe didn't ask, they demanded support from the United States. We spent billions of dollars sending all of this equipment, Stinger missiles, Patriot missiles, anti-drone batteries, all sorts of things, and piles of money, piles and piles of money. Pete Hegseth now at the podium giving his briefing. Can we dip into that for a second, Anthony?
Only moving as fast as possible to win. I got a chance to troop the line, to witness firsthand what we already know is true. I spoke to all ranks and all services, none of whom knew we were coming. It was not rehearsed or scripted. Sometimes we just wandered. What I witnessed was motivation. It was sheer mission focus. It was the American warrior unleashed. It was the kind of warfighting American spirit that comes with a clear mission against a determined enemy. A crew chief we flew with summed it up nicely. He said, "It's been a busy few weeks, sir. Tough stuff. But I'm so honored to be called up. This fight is long overdue. We need to address it for our kids. We cannot pass the buck. Please thank the president from us." I heard that time and time again. I asked each young American, what do you need? And nobody said better equipment. Nobody said more comfortable living conditions. Nobody said send me home. Well, of course, eventually we want all those things. They do too. But what those Americans said to me, young and old, officer and NCO, male and female, black and white, was let's finish the mission.
There it is.
Get
Thank
us even
you.
more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets.
There it is. Pete Hegseth at the podium at the Pentagon. David Zier gave us a preview of that just a short while ago. Let us finish the mission. That's where my mindset is as well. Whether you agree or disagree with going into Iran doesn't matter. We're in now, and we can only move forward from where we stand today. And my feeling has always been finish the mission. Now, it may not be popular politically. It may cost the Republicans dearly in the midterms. But if our kids and grandkids don't have to worry about the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, dangerous cells inside of America, ongoing terrorist attacks, if we can address that for the next generation, we're doing something right. That's what I believe. So I stand with the armed forces of the United States. Let's finish the mission. Let's get this right. And while we're at it, if we're lucky, we will free 92 million people from the bondage of tyranny, from the bondage of a bloodthirsty regime that kills anyone that dares not agree, that kills any woman who dares to take off the hijab, that dares to speak up and say, I don't agree with this. They kill these people. They killed 2 this morning, hung them. Dissenters are not allowed. They're hung from cranes in the middle of Tehran or executed behind prison walls. So I stand with the people of Iran today, as I have from the beginning of this fight. I stood with the people of Iran for 47 years. As we heard people say, this fight is long overdue. We cannot continue to be abused, attacked, pushed around, and targeted by the terrorist regime of Tehran, who has proven not only will they kill their own people, 30 to 40,000 already this year, but they will attack their Gulf neighbors. They will attack their Arab neighbors. Yesterday, launching missiles at Turkey. Launching missiles at Turkey. Not a smart move. If Turkey got hit, it could trigger Article 5. And then what's the UK going to do? And Spain, and France, and Germany. If a NATO country invokes Article 5 because they're under attack, Turkey, a member of NATO, of course, then what's Spain going to do? Spain yesterday banned all air traffic from any U.S. military operation. That's what Spain's doing. The people don't agree with it. The socialist government in Spain is failing the people there. The people know it. They're protesting in the streets almost daily, big crowds of tens of thousands of people, as that government gave asylum to millions of people that came there from other countries. Spain is in real trouble, maybe more trouble than the UK, France, or Germany, or any other country in Europe for that matter. And now saying to the United States, we will not help you at all. Well, what are you going to do if Turkey says we need to invoke Article 5? Realigning world alliances, yes. That too was long overdue, in my estimation. The United Nations, NATO, if they're not working, let's do something new, shall we? This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. Bad policies in Michigan really have hurt us. I don't know how else you would look at it. You look at states like Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, lowering taxes, lowering regulations. Michigan was the only state in America in the last year or two that raised personal income tax on the taxpayers. There were other proposals out there to raise it more. The new budget proposal is $88 billion. That's about $30 billion more than North Carolina or Georgia or Pennsylvania, for that matter. Joining me now is Tim Golding, Americans for Prosperity's Michigan State Director. Tim, good morning.
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning. We need better policies in Michigan to be competitive. I mean, when I see Ford Motor Company building a brand new auto plant in Tennessee and John Deere building a plant in North Carolina, I feel like we're not on the right page to attract the kind of businesses and prosperity we need. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, we're not. And every metric you look at, whether it's education or outbound moves, all of that says that we have been under poor leadership for the last 8 years and things are heading in the wrong direction. And yeah, those businesses should have been built here in Michigan, and they weren't, because the climate for businesses to start and grow and prosper here is not conducive to that. And there are so many different ways that we can make Michigan a better place where Michigan can thrive again and dominate and innovate. And one of those areas that we're working heavily on this year, and going to see it through till it happens, is changing how the zoning and housing how housing is built in Michigan. In Michigan, we are about 125,000 units short. People just can't afford to live here. There's not enough homes. When there's not enough of supply, obviously the demand goes up and the price goes up. First-time home buyers in Michigan, the average age is 39 years old, and that's not sustainable. I think the average price of a new home is $225,000, and younger families just can't afford that. We need to loosen the restrictions that have been taking place and being put in place in Michigan over the last 20, 30 years as it relates to zoning. We need to use more of our land more efficiently. We need to be able to build smaller houses. There's been so many exclusionary zoning things that have happened at the township and municipality levels that people just can't afford to build. I was talking to a realtor the other day who said there is a township, I believe it's north of Lansing, if I'm not mistaken. The minimum lot size requirement there to build a home is 40 acres. So you're just telling people you don't want them to come to your community. You don't want to increase your tax base. You don't want to help your schools. There's so many things we can do. And Americans for Prosperity is partnering with a lot of different coalition partners, as well as folks in the House and the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats, to dial back some of these exclusionary zoning practices.
Yeah.
We have 9 bills that recently were introduced. They're in committee right now. Hopefully they'll get voted out of the House in the next couple weeks that will work to change some of those things.
Yeah, you need those subdivisions. Yeah, you take that 40 acres and you can put probably 50 houses on 40 acres, maybe more depending on how you do it with a planned community. And you're right about the schools. The schools need seats to put kids in the classroom. A lot of schools are getting smaller because, again, they don't have the housing capacity in different districts to accommodate what they need for the buildings that they built. And we can argue about that as whether or not they built properly for the schools. But housing is a problem. And you mentioned education. Michigan has fallen all the way to 44th in education. Right. It's an embarrassment, Tim.
It absolutely is an embarrassment. And that you can lay that right at the feet of Gretchen Whitmer and her leadership over the last 7-8 years. It's been awful. The roads still aren't fixed, by the way, and people are leaving this state. It's not a good climate to start a business, to build a business. And for me personally, having a residential building and remodeling company for 25 years with my brother here in the Washtenaw County area, I dealt with these zoning regulations every day. And at the end of the day, what that does is drive the cost up for homeowners. When you build a house or remodel, you have to meet all these restrictions. You have to get a permission slip. You have to pay fees and fines. If you want to build a deck that's maybe 2 inches too close to a property line, you got to get a zoning variance. And this stuff, it goes back to the property owner not being able to do what they want with their property. And as Americans for Prosperity, we believe that people should have the freedom.
I agree with that.
to do what they want, and
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't obviously impede on health and
Look,
safety.
if you're putting a
and
deck on the house, and here's something that I discovered, and you probably already knew this, but I discovered this recently. In 1965, the number of people that needed a license to go to work was less than 5%. It was doctors and architects and people that need a license, right? I want my doctor to have a license. I want the guy designing a skyscraper to have a license. But a carpet installer, somebody who cuts my hair, it's almost half of the people going to work today in Michigan have to have some sort of a license from the state. That makes, talk about regulation. That makes no sense to me. What are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. And it's just a grift by the government to take more money and give people a permission slip. And I'll give you a perfect example. When we started our construction company, I think in 93, 92, you had to have a builder's license, which is fine, whatever, I get it. Health, safety, things like that. I'm not totally on board with that, but so subsequently, a few years later, the state decided, well, not only does one person in the business owner, let's say, have to have a license, the business has to have a license. Same license, same requirements, same test, everything. It just costs you another $500, $600, $700, whatever it is. I don't recall, because their fear is that when someone sells their business or changes ownership, and most small businesses, let's face it, when they go away, they're gone.
Right.
But they wanted the business to have a license as well. So things like that are across every industry. And all it does at the end of the day is take money from hardworking Americans, put it in the government's pocket, who typically waste it and don't spend things. Like you mentioned, the budget. When Whitmer took office, it was $53 billion.
That's
now
right.
It's close to $9.
Now
My
it's
life
88.
is not. Yeah, my life is not 45 or whatever percent or more better than it was back then. I don't have that much more money in my pocket. The roads aren't better. The schools are awful. The business climate's terrible. The taxes are terrible. We are headed in the wrong direction. We need new, strong leadership in this state. And hopefully, at the end of the 26 election cycle, we will have just that in place. But rest assured that Americans for Prosperity works every single day here in Michigan and across the country to reduce the barriers that the government erects in front of us to keep
And we
us from being
appreciate that. Tim Golding, Americans for Prosperity, Michigan State Director. Tim, thank you for being here. Everything you said is on the money. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Really appreciate it. Look, half the people going to work today need a license or the business. Come on, stop it. We'll be right back. Yeah, no surprise here. Anti-Semitism and the spread of radical Islam pose a serious problem for many Americans, according to a recent survey from Neapolitan News Service. These numbers come as the FBI classified the March 12, 2026 attack on Temple Israel in West Bloomfield as a terrorist attack motivated by Hezbollah's militant ideology. No surprise here. I called it for a terrorist attack 10 seconds after I learned about it. It's pretty obvious when you see such things. Numbers released on March the 28th from Neapolitan shows that 72% of voters say anti-Semitism is a serious problem in America. 35% say it's very serious. 1,000 people were asked. Additionally, 61% of registered voters say they are very concerned about the spread of radical Islam. The poll showed 3/4 of Republicans are concerned compared to 51% of Democrats. Yeah, when the suspect sent a text to a family member before the attack at Temple Israel, he wrote, I have booby-trapped my car. God willing, I will kill as many of them as I possibly can. These are people living in the country today. Radical Islam. It's a dangerous ideology that has resulted in attacks like this terrorist attack in West Bloomfield. When you need something done in the Lansing area of Michigan, Doty Mechanical, the Doty Service Network. Same great people, new name, Doty Service Network with expanded services. They're offering plumbing, appliance repair, plus trusted HVAC solutions. From heating and cooling to leaky pipes and broken appliances, Doty is going to serve you better. Think of us as your home's new best friend, ready whenever you need us. Call Doty Service Network today for service you can trust, or visit DotyMechanical.com. DotyMechanical.com, or the phone number 517-327-7777. They've done a lot for me recently because I had a house that caught fire. They came in. Man, they did everything. It is great. The HVAC service, the plumbing services, all top shelf. I'm telling you, it's the gold standard. Experience the Doty difference today. Experience the Doty difference today. Doty. All right, I'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, I'm going to tell you a story now that you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is a crazy story you need to hear. Wayne Barnes is not a pundit. He's a 29-year-old FBI counterintelligence veteran with a first-hand story that's never been told, not fully. He had personal stakes. A KGB source he helped run was marched down a tunnel in Lubyanka prison, shot in the back of the head. He had been blown by the mole. Barnes had spent years hunting. In 1998, a senior FBI brass then secretly flew to San Diego and told him to tell no one, not even his supervisor. They were supposed to find the traitor inside the bureau. His source eventually identified the spy in the back of a New York taxi cab. But the FBI buried the results, destroyed the career of an innocent CIA officer that they had predetermined as their target, and let the real mole keep selling American secrets to Moscow. The traitor was Robert Hansen. You've probably heard of him. Wayne Barnes joins me now. Wayne, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
A remarkable story. And the FBI is at it again, you say. They've lost 300 counterintelligence agents since January of 2025. First of all, why did they not want to expose this when they had the goods? They knew who it was. Robert Hansen became infamous as a result of his activities, didn't he?
He did. My story, A Traitor in the FBI, The Hunt for a Russian Mole, is the story of the hunt for the mole. There have been 2 movies made and a dozen books about the Hansen case, but none of them actually say how we knew he was the one to follow. So my story is the hunt. And most times it's the hunt, the kill, and the feast. My career was based upon doing the hunt, catching, finding the spies. A SWAT team can always arrest them. But so that was the effort to hunt the man. And that was a story that was not known outside of the FBI until this book comes out. I even did a Freedom of Information Act request trying to get the information that I had written and done up. And they came back and said there was nothing there. So that's when I decided to write the book.
So you wrote documents that they said didn't exist.
Well, there was a very interesting situation. Robert Hansen was at a senior level at FBI headquarters.
Right.
So unlike any other case, we could not commit paperwork and put it in the FBI computer system because the unknown subject, which was Hansen, but the unsub, could search the system to find if there was a case trying to locate him. So that was different. So I was to attend a film festival in San Diego where the Russian would be who knew the identity of the unknown subject in the FBI. So I would meet with them and then make a memo. That night I would print it out in my hotel and FedEx it to my colleague in Washington. And then he would walk into the office the next day. So it never made it into the FBI system.
Fair enough. So how did you know it was Hansen? How did you know who to zero in on?
Well, that's my part of it. We didn't know it was, quote, the Hansen case. We just know it was an unknown subject at FBI headquarters. And there was a case which took place in the 1980s where a Russian was aware of the face of the man who was working on behalf of the Soviets. He wasn't recruited by them. He volunteered himself. He was their self-made mole. And even they didn't know what his name was at the time. So that man knew the identity of the mole. When the 3 agents flew out to San Diego, they told me that there was a penetration of the FBI to senior level, and a man was coming to a film festival in Santa Monica, the American film market, in 2 months. They said, we want you to find some kind of reasonable backstopping, go to the festival, find him, meet him, befriend him, recruit him, and then show him photos of a dozen senior agents suspected of being the spy in the FBI working for the Russians. Well, while a Russian was assigned to the U.S. for 4 years during their tour of duty, it was almost impossible to recruit them. And I asked how long I had to do this, and they told me 8 days. So everybody knew this was virtually an impossible task from the get-go. But I took it on anyway. I was seen as a bit of a maverick. So the whole goal was to understand it and recruit this Russian. It didn't happen at that film festival. We had him back to a second visit to the U.S. But again, it was almost an impossible task. But fortunately, it turned out well in the end.
Let me ask you this. I mentioned the FBI has lost nearly 300 counterintelligence agents since January of last year. Iran has vowed revenge for the killing of the supreme leader. China opens a new espionage case every 10 hours. Are we in trouble here? Is the FBI an adequate counterterrorism organization at this point, or are they compromised?
I don't think they're compromised. I retired in 2000, so I've been out for 26 years. I was in for 29 years. And when I was in, there were no politics. You know, a supervisor would say, you 3 guys go to the airport and arrest someone. No one said, well, let's have 2 Democrats and 1 Republican. Nothing like that at all. So the politics changed when I left.
Why?
I think it started with the director, Louis Freeh. When he was at Main Justice, he was a judge. He was an FBI agent early in his career. But he brought in people across the street, we like to say, from Main Justice Department to FBI headquarters. And they had never gone through the FBI Academy. They didn't know the the concepts and the philosophy of the investigation in the FBI, and that led to more difficult times. At Quantico, where the FBI Academy is, I came into the Bureau before the FBI Academy was built. That was 1971, and before the Hoover Building was built. It was a hole in the ground when I was in training. And Hoover was still alive for a year while I was in the FBI. That dates me, but it has a certain timestamp on it for what my career was like. But so at Quantico, there's a road where that goes through the woods, and you can trip on roots and rocks and other things. And they painted all the things you might trip on a bright yellow color. And we call this the Yellow Brick Road. And the deal was, if anybody at a senior level in the FBI, like we used to say, had never run the Yellow Brick Road, they didn't understand the concepts of what the FBI is, the moral philosophy, the principles, fidelity, bravery, integrity. Someone who didn't understand that was it was almost anathema. But we had senior people in the Bureau who were in that kind of a position. Some could be very, very good, but they didn't understand the philosophy in the FBI at the time.
Some say the FBI should be torn down, rebuilt, or removed altogether. I mean, you hear those criticisms every day. Your thoughts on that?
I don't think that's the case. They have high standards. When I came into the Bureau in 71, 1 out of every 700 applicants was accepted. Today, I learned this past week from the special agent in charge of the Miami division that for every 30,000 agents, they're able to get applicants, they're able to get only 500 agents. That's an enormously small number. So they keep their standards high, and no one else does what the Bureau does. None of the other federal agencies, Secret Service or NSA or anybody else, the CIA, but the Bureau investigates, and we have it divided into applicant matters. We have it foreign counterintelligence, which is what I spent my career on, and criminal matters. So in the counterintelligence field, it's changed a lot because of the terrorism. That's been expanded to cover terrorist activities. But no one else does what we do, and it's investigate. They take smart people. They have organized squads with how they approach things, and they're the organization. If it were torn down, I don't know who would do it. I mean, not local law enforcement.
Last question, and I only got about 30 seconds here, but what about this politicization of the FBI? Is that still a problem? 30 seconds, last word.
It is a problem to the extent that we never had politicization. There was nothing like it. You didn't even know what other people were doing regarding politics and who they voted for. And any way they can clean that out and make it so it's non-political would be good. This is the book. Traitor in the FBI, Hunt for a Russian Mole.
A Traitor in the FBI. It comes out April 7th. Republic Book Publishers. Wayne Barnes, fascinating story. Thank you for sharing today.
Much. I appreciate it.
Really appreciate you. Fascinating. Robert Hansen, I've seen the movie, at least one of them. He said there were several books and movies made. I've seen the one. Hollywood movie. He was the worst of the worst, maybe the most damaging spy in American history. Wayne Barnes had direct connection. A Traitor in the FBI. Find the book, April 7th. I'll be back with Ivy after this. A couple of things I want to get to. Ivy's back in the room. Ivy, welcome back.
Hello.
A couple of things that I want to share here. Donald Trump putting out, by the way, putting out a Truth Social post. All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil.
Wow. Some pretty tough words there from the president.
Yeah, wake-up call. Look, we're not doing your bidding anymore. We're not going to do it for the United Nations. We're not going to do it for NATO. And look, Spain says American military aircraft cannot use their airspace at all. Mm-hmm. This is a NATO ally? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not working very well. Anyhow, I wanted to play you one more thing just for your reaction, because I keep seeing these and they make me chuckle.
Well, before you leave that, did you see that King Charles is making his first state visit? And
I did see that. He's coming here, right?
Yeah. Wonder what they're going to have to talk about after that post.
The Islamification of the UK, probably.
Oh, yeah, and across Europe. But continue.
King Charles kissing the ring of radical Islam in England over and over. Anyhow, so I keep seeing these videos, and everyone I see, I can't figure out which one's dumber, right? This is from the No Kings rally, and they just keep popping up. They're like spring flowers, popping up and just making me smile. Here's an example of protesters at the No Kings rally telling you why they're there. Here it is.
What do you make of the fact that he was democratically elected, even won the popular vote? How does that make him a king?
It doesn't make him a king. It makes him a president, not a king.
Well, this is called No Kings. So what does that mean to you?
It means we got to get rid of him. He's not a king. It's a democratic process, and we've gone that route with him. Now he's acted like a king.
Can you give me a specific example?
Specific example? Well, there's a million of them all put together. There's no one example. It's exactly.
Just one or two?
There's more than one or two.
No, can you give me one or two examples?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I can, I guess. I'm just at a loss of thought on. There's a lot of things.
Okay.
I can't really.
So he's a he's
How
a president,
old is that
not
guy,
a king.
you think?
He's 65, probably, right?
So anywhere from the folks who are, 18 to 65 have no answers.
Yeah.
As to
no matter who you listen
why
to,
they think that this president is a king.
Well, you played videos yesterday.
I did.
I played another one earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example. The girl that was wearing latex ran from the camera, made the people dressed as condoms
I should be
flee.
doing this interview after all. I think it's
She faked a heat stroke to get out of it.
She did. But isn't it remarkable? They talk about how MAGA is a cult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump is a dictator. But he was elected president. Yes, he's a president, not a king. Well, this is no kings. Right, he can't be a king. You just said he's president. I mean, good
That's
Lord.
That's what we like to call liberal logic.
Right. And so they have no examples. They have, but they're bought and paid for. So here they are. And they are bought and paid for by Singham and Soros and the rest, right? It hurts my brain.
Yes, it certainly hurts my brain too. And I look at all these protests and I go, don't you have better things to do with your time?
You must. But you spent an hour dressing up in your clown suit to act like, well, a clown, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but it does showcase how divided we are, one, and two, just how uninformed many people in our electorate are.
Oh, good Lord.
And so and when they attempt to try to come up with an answer, they don't have one because it isn't true.
One.
There isn't one.
Right. There isn't
and
one.
So they can't take that and then really think about it and say, you know what? there isn't an answer for this, so why am I doing this? It's like there's no self-reflection there.
You know, it's interesting. Donald Trump's a tyrant. He's president, and we want to make sure he's not president, even though he was duly elected.
Yeah.
So who is the tyrant?
Right. Well, I wanted to play you something,
right.
and I'm shifting gears here because
right.
you have this, Anthony. I sent it to you, RFK. He's really going to have a major impact in health in our country.
I believe
and
that's
I want to
true.
be able to get to it, but if you have that, please play it, Anthony.
That we're making today is that Dr. Oz sent out a health and safety notice every hospital in this country at 11 o'clock this morning, asking them now to align their food purchases with the dietary guidelines in order to enjoy continued eligibility for Medicaid and Medicare payments. We're going to bring all the hospitals in the country in line with good food, and this is not something that we need to force hospitals to do. They want it. We have talked with them. They need the incentive. And this is going to help them with their procurement companies. The fact
that's more good news.
Yeah, so you can come back to us there. What I love about that is, you know, you have had your fair share of time in the hospital, and I have been there with you. So, you know, the one thing, and I actually spent 2 weeks in the hospital with my grandmother after her catastrophic brain injury. But the amount of food that is complete junk in hospitals is like crazy. And you know, when you were there, I'm like, what the heck are they feeding you? Like, you know, high sugar stuff, highly processed. I'm like, this stuff isn't going to make you healthy. This is going to keep you sick. So I know, when I hear that, it gives me a lot of joy, because it's also happening in the school systems, and it's happening in hospitals, and it will continue happening across our nation. And I just think that's a great thing.
He is going to have a tremendous impact. He has already.
Yeah.
The dyes that are being removed, the highly processed foods that are being removed, the other things that aren't even allowed in most countries in Europe being removed. It's all good news. It was all removed from my diet about 14 years ago, just for the record. Ivy, love you.
A little bit of protesting. I love you too.
All right, back after this. All right, a public service announcement before we wrap things up today and put everything back in the barn. Power strips sold on Amazon, which is probably a lot of them, to be honest, are being recalled over the risk of creating a fire in your home. No good. Consumers are told to stop using these immediately. The power strips were made by CCCEI. CCCEI branded power strips sold by Middleway Electronics, 6-foot, 10-foot, and 15-foot power cords. The strips have a black metal enclosure with six receptacles. Each has an individual on-off switch. The defective units were made in China. I know you're shocked. They do not contain supplementary overcurrent protection, which the agency said creates the risk of a fire if the strips are overloaded. If the product catches fire, it can cause serious injury or death from smoke inhalation, burns, and everything else, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Stop using these immediately. They've had 2 reports of sparking and melting. So far, no reports of fires, but it was sold on Amazon. Anyway, going all the way back to April of 2024 to January of 2026, they sold between $23 and $30. CCCEI has not commented on the recall, but these garbage power strips were manufactured in China. Go figure. Are you shocked? Because I'm not. All right? I'm not. That's why we need to build things here. The Consumer Product Safety Commission keeping an eye on this one for us. And look, if you bought a power strip from Amazon, go look at it. It'll have individual on-off switches for each outlet, 6 of them. And it doesn't matter which cord is on it, 6, 10, or 15. Whatever you may have may be defective and may pose a risk to your health and well-being because it could set your house on fire. No big deal. There you have it. All right, fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Remember to follow us on all the social media platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and, of course, YouTube, where you can catch Forgotten America in the podcast. Remember, only you can save America.